Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to our channel, AI Era Islamic Abrahamic Wisdom. Today we're diving into something really special, inspired by the incredible work of Mr. Zahir Ahmad Mir in his book on the leadership of Hazrat Abu Bakr As-Siddiq. May Allah be pleased with him. We're going to explore a radical idea. What if the solution to the leadership crisis we're seeing in the age of AI can be found in the principles of a 7th century leader? We're going to break down how this ancient wisdom offers a powerful, and I mean powerful, roadmap for navigating the ethical maze of our modern world.
So let's just get right into it. It feels like our technology is failing us. I mean, think about it. It seems like every single week there's a new headline, a new scandal about some tech company facing a huge ethical meltdown. We're talking about data privacy, biased algorithms, the wildfire spread of misinformation, you name it. And listen, these aren't just one-off mistakes. They're symptoms of a much deeper problem, a real crisis in digital leadership. The incredible, world-changing promise of AI is being seriously undermined by a massive void of ethical guidance.
And these right here, these are the symptoms of that failure. You see them everywhere. We're talking about major ethical breakdowns, the abuse of power that's concentrated in just a few hands, and the exploitation of our personal data on a scale we can barely comprehend. And what's fueling all of this? Often it's this toxic tech arrogance, this belief that technology alone has all the answers, and that a smart enough algorithm can solve any human problem. And in that process, compassion gets lost. The whole idea of leadership as a form of service, well, it's pretty much disappearing. It's creating this huge trust deficit right when we need to trust these systems the most. So this brings us to the core question we're tackling today. When our futuristic solutions are creating even more futuristic problems, what if the answer isn't to look even further ahead? What if we need to look back? It sounds a little counterintuitive, I know, but what if a timeless 7th century model of leadership holds the actual key to solving our most modern, complex crises? Well, let's find out. Okay, so where do we even begin to build this new model? It starts with pillar 1. And this first pillar is a virtue that seems almost completely alien in today's tech world: humility. And before you tune out, this isn't about being weak or passive, far from it. It's about a fundamental shift in focus, away from yourself and onto the impact you have on other people.
This model completely reframes humility. It's not a weakness, it's a strategic strength. In a field as ridiculously complex and high stakes as artificial intelligence, a leader who can actually stand up and say, "I don't have all the answers," is infinitely more valuable than one who pretends they do. It's about moving from a culture that obsesses over personal status and stock options to one that is fundamentally obsessed with service.
And here is where it gets super practical. Look at how directly these principles apply. On one side, you have Abu Bakr, one of the most powerful rulers of his time, who lived a simple life. He even milked his own family's goats. The modern translation for a tech leader? Drop the tech god complex. Avoid that tech arrogance. He rejected luxury and listened to his people. The parallel today? Genuinely listen to your engineers, to the ethicists, to society. Don't just treat them like a focus group. This isn't just history. It's a clear, actionable roadmap for responsible leadership in the AI era. This quote really just sums it all up, doesn't it? It's such a powerful shift in mindset. When leadership stops being a competition for who has the biggest title or the corner office and starts being a competition for who can serve their community the best, everything changes. Ego gets replaced by contribution. The goal is no longer to be the most powerful person in the room, but the most useful. This intense focus on service brings us right to our second pillar, which is all about the purpose of power itself. Is power a tool for control and domination, or is it a responsibility for the betterment of others? This ancient model gives us a very, very clear answer. This is the absolute essence of servant leadership. The model of Abu Bakr shows us that true authority, the kind of authority that inspires real loyalty and creates lasting positive change, it doesn't come from command and control. No way. It comes from empowering, protecting, and uplifting the very community that you're supposed to be leading. And once again, the parallels are they're striking. His historical actions of feeding the poor and caring for the sick translate into a modern-day imperative: build technology that genuinely serves people, especially the most vulnerable among us. His actions to protect the weak find their echo in the modern fight to protect user rights and reduce algorithmic harm. And ensuring justice for all, well, that means prioritizing humanity over pure profit in every single line of code you write and every business decision you make. And right here, this is the fundamental choice.
It's a simple sentence, but it is the ethical crossroads facing every single developer, every product manager, and every CEO in the tech industry today. Every algorithm, every business model, every single product makes a choice, whether you realize it or not, between domination and service. Okay, let's dive into the third pillar, which is just incredibly relevant for our digital age. It's about how to wield immense power responsibly. Because let's be honest, the power that is now concentrated in the hands of a few tech companies, it is completely unprecedented in all of human history. So this is the guiding principle. Your technical ability to build something, to create some powerful algorithm or a vast data collection system, that's not the most important thing. The truly crucial element is your ethical capacity to use that power justly. It's not about what you can do with technology, it's about what you should do. And you can see how this power just escalates. It's like a ladder. It starts with data, our data, which is then used to fuel algorithms. Those algorithms then enable surveillance on a massive scale, which in turn allows for unprecedented influence over our thoughts and our behaviors. And all of this is consolidated on these massive platforms, creating a concentration of power that often has no meaningful ethical framework to contain it. So in response to that kind of unchecked power, this ancient model gives us clear, non-negotiable ethical boundaries. And these aren't just quaint historical ideals, okay? They are the essential, concrete rules for ethical digital governance today. Just imagine for a second. Imagine an AI system that was designed with these rules hard-coded into its very development process. How different would our digital world feel?
All right, let's get to our final and maybe the most critical pillar of them all. Look, no leader is perfect. No system is perfect. Mistakes are going to happen. The true test of leadership isn't achieving perfection. It's what you do next. It's all about accountability.
This statement, just let it sink in for a moment. If I do wrong, correct me. Spoken by one of the most powerful leaders of his time. This is a radical, revolutionary challenge to modern tech culture. It is an open invitation to be held accountable. It is the polar opposite of that defensive, walled-off posture we see so often when things go wrong. This is what real strength looks like.
Seriously, just think about that for a second. What would actually change if every tech CEO said this and actually meant it? The entire culture would have to shift. It would move away from defensiveness and denial and toward a culture of genuine ownership and responsibility. It would change everything. And this slide just lays out this stark contrast, doesn't it? It's a tale of two models. On one side, you have a leadership model built on transparency, auditability, responsibility, and a genuine willingness to be corrected. And on the other side, well, you have the all-too-common pattern of hiding mistakes, avoiding responsibility, denying accountability, and running from the consequences. This really highlights the massive gap between the kind of leadership we desperately need in tech and what we so often get.
So ultimately, everything we've talked about today boils down to this one fundamental question. As we build the future, are we creating tools that serve human values, our dignity, and our well-being? Or are we creating systems that demand humanity bend to the logic of the code? The leadership model we've explored today offers a very clear answer. Thanks for watching this explainer. If you found this valuable, please subscribe to our channel, give this video a like, and please share this video with your friends. We'll see you next time.
Anxiety. You feel it, right? The ground just feels like it's constantly shifting beneath our feet. We're trying to get our heads around things like deepfakes, where you literally can't trust what you see or hear.
And then there's the worry about mass job displacement, you know? As automation and AI start doing things we always thought were uniquely human, the whole economic fabric of our society is being rewoven at this incredible, dizzying speed. And it gets personal, too. We're all fighting a battle with digital addiction, with these algorithms that are just perfectly designed to hook our attention. And a lot of the time, it comes at the expense of our own mental health.
So you take all of that, and it all boils down to one massive crisis, a fundamental collapse of trust. Trust in our institutions, trust in the media, trust in the tech we use every day, and sometimes, even in each other.
So this brings us to the big question for today. Our technology is obviously accelerating at an exponential rate. I mean, no one disputes that. But is our leadership keeping up? Is our wisdom growing alongside all this power? The source material we're looking at today argues pretty forcefully that no, it isn't, and that we have a serious leadership vacuum.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll quickly touch on this leadership crisis in AI. Then we're going to pivot to this ancient blueprint for a solution. We'll explore three main ideas: compassion, leading through change, and trust.
And we'll wrap it all up with a really concrete, actionable model for the future.
Okay, so let's start here. The crisis we're talking about, it isn't really about code or processing power. It's about a lack of a moral and ethical framework to guide this unbelievable technological revolution. We're building these systems with world-changing power, but often without a really clear vision for how they're going to impact actual human beings.
So where on earth do we find an answer to a 21st century problem like this? Well, the source for our explainer today, Zahir Ahmad Mir's work on leadership in faith and integrity for the AI era, points us way back, all the way to the 7th century, to the leadership of Abu Bakr As-Siddiq, who was the first caliph of Islam. And by the way, that RAUC stands for an honorific that means, may God be pleased with him. The whole argument is that the principles he used to guide his society through its own massive, chaotic upheaval offer a timeless and powerful model for us right now.
So the very first pillar of this ancient blueprint is compassion. And look, this isn't some soft, optional skill. The argument here is that emotional intelligence has to be hardwired into how we develop and deploy AI. It has to be part of the code, both, literally and figuratively.
I mean, just look at how his leadership is described. It wasn't about raw power or force. It was defined by gentleness, by empathy. He was known for being acutely aware of people's pain, for showing real humility when he was successful, and for having this deep patience during a crisis. These are all the classic hallmarks of incredibly high emotional intelligence.
And this is where it gets really practical. Check out how this maps directly onto our world. His empathy for people? That becomes a mandate for today's tech leaders to really think about the social impact of their algorithms. His humility and gentleness? That's a call to avoid creating addictive, manipulative systems. His awareness of pain is a direct command to protect the mental health of users. So you see, this isn't just history. It's a practical guide for designing AI that actually uplifts humanity instead of harming it.
The source puts it in really stark terms with this powerful line: technology without compassion is oppression. It's a heck of a reminder that when we build these powerful tools without a deep sense of empathy for the people they'll affect, we risk creating systems of control and harm, whether we mean to or not.
Okay, but compassion alone isn't enough, right? A great leader also has to know how to steer the ship through a massive storm. And that brings us to the second pillar, guiding change. You could define his era and ours with one single word: disruption.
I mean, just try to imagine inheriting a world in total flux. New political systems were being created overnight. Borders were expanding at a dizzying pace. Old tribal identities were breaking apart. Entire economies were being remade from scratch, and the community was facing huge existential threats. It was truly an era of unprecedented change.
And look at how these challenges just perfectly mirror our own. The rapid expansion and change of his time, that's our AI automation and job displacement. The identity and economic crises he had to navigate, that's our modern struggle with digital addiction and misinformation. The threats he faced, well, they find their modern parallel in the dangers of unregulated tech power. The context is totally different, but the nature of the disruption, it's remarkably similar.
So, in the middle of all that chaos, what was his advice? It really boils down to this simple but incredibly profound instruction. Stay calm, don't react out of fear. Stay ethical, don't compromise your principles for a quick win. Stay united, because division is weakness. And stay focused, keep your eyes on the real goal. This isn't just ancient history, it's a 4-point crisis plan that could have been written for a tech CEO yesterday.
And that brings us to the third, and maybe the most critical pillar of this whole framework: trust. I mean, think about it. In an age of deepfakes and rampant misinformation, where reality itself feels negotiable, trust becomes the single most valuable asset a leader or a technology company can possibly have.
So how did he do it? It wasn't through spin or some clever marketing campaign. It was through character. It was through absolute honesty, even when that was the hardest path. Through a deep humility that put him on the same level as the people he was leading. Through unwavering justice for everyone and total transparency in his decisions. It works because people give their trust to leaders who are consistent, who hold themselves to the highest standards, and who prove, day in and day out, that their focus is on service, not on themselves.
And this totally redefines trust for our era. It's not just a soft skill or some PR metric you track. It's the fundamental currency of the digital age. It's that simple. Without it, users leave, your algorithms get rejected, and entire companies will fail. Trust is everything.
Okay, so we've looked at the core pillars: compassion, guidance, trust. Now let's bring it all together into the actionable playbook from the source, what it calls the SIDIC model for AI. It's 10 principles, and I want you to hear them not just as a checklist, but as a whole philosophy for leadership, starting with the leader's own character.
The model starts with you. Principle 1, lead with humility, not ego. The goal has to be building something great for humanity, not just a personal monument to your own genius.
Number 2, this means you use the incredible power of technology to serve people's actual needs, not to dominate their attention, their data, or their choices.
Third, and this is totally non-negotiable, your technology has to be a shield for the most vulnerable people in society, never, ever a tool that's designed to exploit them.
And number 4, you make justice the absolute bedrock of what you do. That means actively fighting bias in your code and making sure your systems are fair for every single user. So from character, we move to action.
Fifth principle, demand accountability, but start with yourself. Before you ask it of your team or your users, you have to hold yourself to the highest possible standard.
Number 6 is a big one. Put morality above innovation. The question should never be, can we build it? The very first question has to be, should we build it? Ethics has to lead the way, not clean up the mess later.
7th, actively fight misinformation with truth. Don't just be a passive platform where lies can spread. Be an active champion for honesty. And finally, you have to focus on your impact.
8th, have a positive vision. Your goal should be to create technology that genuinely uplifts the human spirit, that fosters creativity, connection, and real well-being.
9th, always remember that trust is not a one-time achievement. You have to work to build it and maintain it with every single decision, every update, and every communication.
And finally, number 10, follow the model. Commit yourself completely to a leadership style that is fundamentally ethical, just, and humble. That's the core of the entire framework. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, the source presents Abu Bakr As-Siddiq not just as a figure from history, but as a prototype. He was the person tasked with guiding humanity through a monumental transition into a completely new era. In that sense, he was the world's first ethical leader for a new age. And the blueprint he left behind, well, it's exactly what our new era of artificial intelligence demands from its own leaders. It demands humility over hubris, justice over profit, compassion over cold code, accountability over evasion, service over domination, truth over engagement, and just immense moral courage to lead the right way.
And that really leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought. We are so focused on looking forward, on innovating, on disrupting, that we almost never look back. But what if the key to navigating our technological future doesn't actually lie in a new algorithm, but in rediscovering a timeless code of human leadership? What if the future of AI really does depend on ancient wisdom,